LEGO Star Wars The Complete Saga is exactly what it says on the tin. Only a year out of LEGO Star Wars 2's release, the Complete Saga mashes it and the original LEGO Star Wars into one package, putting various improvements in place, especially for the first game, adding a few new levels, and polishing up the graphics, again, mostly with regards to the first game. This release seems to largely exist to abandon the prior generation consoles. The Wii and PS3 were hot commodities, enjoying the Xbox 360 and PC as the primary consoles, while the DS also got its own conversion. To call this the definitive version of both original titles would be an understatement. It's the best version of both of these hands down and features plenty of extra content of varied quality. The gameplay is basically maintained from LEGO Star Wars 2. The improvements of that game are carried back into the original, like what the spot dodge gunner characters can perform, for example. High jumpers return, although they only have the ability to high jump in prequel trilogy levels, which feels weird. The high jump would absolutely break some puzzles and mini-kits in the original trilogy, but that's all free play stuff. Extras break the game just as hard or harder than high jumping could or ever would, and it would be a fun reward for outside the box thinking. Speaking of extras, the doubled roster of levels means the amount of red bricks is doubled too, leading to some neat new extras that allow you to further break the game, like stud magnet, force grapple leap, exploding blaster bolts, and character studs, where enemies drop money on death. Plus the added length means you'll probably start getting some of these extras before you even finish the game, which is kind of fun when you've played through these games about 1,000,000 times now. One of the biggest additions to the game is the new levels and fixed levels. Attack of the Clones is finally rounded off with its 6th level, Bounty Hunter Pursuit, which serves as its new 1st level. The level is scrapped from the original game for unknown reasons, probably time constraints, and its re-edition means that Attack of the Clones actually starts at the beginning of the movie instead of 45 minutes in. It's a fairly standard vehicle mission in the style of the second game established, simply flying through Coruscant chasing Zam Wessel before getting the series' first vehicle boss fight. Hilariously, her ship features no invincibility frames on it and can be plowed through in genuinely seconds with a touch of luck. It's not much of a level honestly, but I guess it's a nice gesture to add it back in. The pod race and the dreadful gunship cavalry have also been remade. The pod race now loads in the entire track without having to stop constantly to load, and only asks that the player be first at the end of lap 3. Failing this makes them restart that lap. Well, it's not that different from its original incarnation. It feels much nicer thanks to not having to constantly load, being a little smoother in general, and feeling a little bit more relaxed. Gunship Cavalry is effectively a new level, utilizing 2's gameplay and free movement with roughly the same layout, although with the unfortunate caveat that it apes Hoth's obnoxious bomb-towing gimmick on top of it, both to lower the gates and to destroy the cannons around the weird ball thing at the end. It's still a pretty unpleasant level to play through, in all honesty, although moderately less so than it was, I guess. There's also a slew of bonus levels. For some ungodly reason, they included the original version of Pod Race and Gunship Cavalry, but also, damn, the fact that they did is impressive, I guess. The New Hope bonus level from the original game and LEGO City also return here alongside 2 new bonuses. Anakin's Flight is a finished version of a level from the first game, which was recently seen in its original version in a leaked prototype. It's a fairly straightforward vehicle mission covering Anakin blowing up the donut ship at the end of episode 1. It definitely feels like a bonus whipped up around an old scrapped idea being a standard vehicle mission where you blast the outside of the ship, then the inside with basically no flourish, but especially knowing the history of the level, it's a cool addition to the roster. The other new bonus is New City. It's another LEGO City with roughly the same aesthetics and a lot of very similar design, although we didn't get stuck nearly as hard as with the original. It's a fine bonus, but it barely feels new, as its name implies, given how similar it is. The other content is some more questionable stuff. Straightforwardly speaking, there's twice the amount of super stories, character bonuses, and mini-kit bonuses, which is pretty exhausting since I've played all these levels way too many times through these playthroughs, although I won't complain about some extra bounty hunter missions. However, the game adds a new bonus mode that's genuinely dreadful, Challenge. Every single level has a challenge mode now, which consists of sprinting through every level again while finding 10 blue mini-kits in under 10 minutes. These aren't placed in the same spots they were before, there's really nothing all that interesting going on with them at all. And they add at the very least a 4th playthrough of every single level in this game. It's genuinely exhausting busy work the game could have done without, and it doesn't surprise me that this mode stopped appearing after this first game. To briefly touch on visuals, there isn't all that much to say. As with the original trilogy's Xbox 360 port, the game is a fairly large visual and lighting improvement over the originals. The second game levels don't change that much besides a bit of extra particle effects, but seeing the levels from the first games in HD is a treat, especially since the prequels have so much visual variety. Plus a few levels, specifically the opening level of Revenge of the Sith, run much better as they could run pretty poorly on the original GameCube. The expanded character roster, while technically not a visual change, is also pretty cool to see. The rosters for these games always get to be fairly large, since 90% of the characters share the same basic features and only change in hairstyles, skin tone, and clothing. But even then, the amount of care and effort put into giving so many characters unique appearances, let alone a few with unique animations or attributes like Boba Fett's jetpack, Yoda and his cane, and the Emperor's flips and spins as he attacks, is rather impressive. Same notes as last time on the music, John Williams made a hell of a score, and it's still scoring here. There really isn't that much else to say on this game. It's a compilation of 2 good games, plus a bunch of bonus shit on top. The inclusion of even the bad versions of levels they redid basically voids the existence of the prior 2 games, especially when taking into account the better visuals. HD graphics on Xbox 360 and PS3, plus they're backwards compatible on the newer Xbox consoles at least. Polished gameplay and animation, retroactively applied to the original game. While I think the new content is kind of a mixed bag, and by mixed I mean challenge mode is dreadful and the new levels are weak but passable, it's hard to deny that this is the best version of both of these games, with plenty to do, a huge roster, fun cheats to mess with. Perhaps it's nostalgia, but as far as it goes, I think this is a really solid game for a younger audience. Tons of fan service for Star Wars fans, and so much content that it almost loops around to being a negative. It's a nice and comfy package that, while not hugely engaging for someone looking for an intense challenge, is still a fairly enjoyable collection, especially for LEGO fans.